and welcome to Building a Business, Tips, Tricks, and Hacks for Creating Ads. I'm AJ Glasser from Oculus Developer Relations. I'm joined today by Lauren Koester. She's the Senior Director of Marketing at ForeVR Games. Their first VR game, Forever Bowl, launched on Oculus Quest in May 2021. Thank you so much for joining us today. Forever Bowl launched in May of 2021, and you had a great launch weekend with a really strong marketing campaign that you put together. How long did it take you to do that?
We definitely created this one very quickly. I joined the team probably about 3 weeks prior to launch. So this one we really heavied up on the support of the creator community. So we leveraged influencers and creators to help build content and create that buzz that really made the launch of Forever Bowl really special, because we had a lot of that momentum and a lot of that real awesome excitement from the VR community of people really saying, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this game, when we didn't even realize that people knew it was about to come out. So it was really exciting to see kind of that quick turnaround really in the 2 weeks leading up to the game launching, just from content creators talking about the game and creating teasers for us. It was super exciting to see, but we really owe a lot of our success, especially early on, to the content creators who worked with us.
So it was a strong launch. What have you done since launch to kind of build on the marketing campaign that you started with?
When it comes to marketing, we use a bunch of different pieces. We rely a lot on paid ads. We rely a lot, like I mentioned, on content creators. And we rely a lot on social media. We've been trying out kind of different areas like TikTok. We rely a lot on Instagram. We find that video, especially with VR, people really like to see what the game's gonna look like. And especially with tools like mixed reality capture, people especially want to see what they're gonna look like playing the game. VR can be a little silly sometimes, especially when you have the headset on. You can look a little silly, we know that. So when it comes to creating ads and creating any sort of creative that you're sharing on social, showing what someone is going to look like playing the game can be really helpful in engaging the audience.
What did you use to actually capture and create some of those videos and that content to share?
We have tools internally in the game. We also use Oculus Mixed Reality. We support that in the game. We also use a tool called Lib that we support as well.
Then you just edit it together to make different videos for like TikTok editor or Instagram?
Sure, it's funny. We've used a bunch of different tools. I've used everything from Final Cut to a tool called Clipchamp that actually just got acquired by Microsoft. But it doesn't really matter whether it's really, really polished, high fidelity, or kind of ridiculous memes for TikTok. It really just depends on the audience and where you're posting the videos. So for example, our trailers, we want to be a lot more polished. So our trailers, we use licensed music when we can. We really polish and make sure that we have nice motion graphics and a really kind of immersive and exciting and kind of compelling environment. Whereas our social media is a lot more memey, if that's even a word, and fun. I like to think that when we are creating content for Forever Bowl specifically, we have a bit of a voice. I like to think of ourselves as the guy at the bar. He's friendly, he's got a little bit of an off-color sense of humor, he's a little sarcastic, but he's fun and he's friendly and he wants to just chat and have fun. So when we talk to our players and we create content, we try to create it in that voice. And that's why our social media and the content that we share tends to be a little bit silly, and it's just fun to make it.
So for advertisers who are just sort of getting into the VR space, what would you tell them to think about as they're kind of developing the budget for what they're going to spend on marketing?
In terms of what budget you should be setting for yourself, I would say that really varies depending on your game. For example, if you're launching a multiplayer game, you really want to take into consideration the player base that you need to make that multiplayer experience a positive experience for users who are coming into the game in day one. So for example, if you have a synchronous multiplayer game, you're going to want to invest very heavily in new user acquisition at the start, because you need to have a strong player base in order for that synchronous multiplayer to be successful. For Forever Bowl, we have asynchronous multiplayer in the sense that you're not going at the same time. It's not a ping pong game, for example, but you're bowling, you're taking turns, and multiplayer is still a really important part of our game. And it's a pretty magical experience to bowl next to someone, especially if you're bowling with someone who's 3,000 miles away. So having enough people in the game for multiplayer is really important. So as a developer who's looking at what they need to invest, I would first and foremost, I would look at what you are capable of investing from an ROI perspective. But I would also take into consideration that you need to potentially invest in users sheerly at a break-even cost, just to ensure that you have the player base to make that multiplayer experience really positive for your users.
That makes a lot of sense. What about for post-launch? How do you kind of tweak your marketing spend in the post-launch world to keep people re-engaged over time?
We use a lot of re-engagement. We have started to try things like, rather than just running video ads, which is what we did in the start, we have started doing things like running static banner ads and then retargeting off of those banner ads based on who engages, because banner ads traditionally cost a lot less than video ads. We've started to do things like re-engagement ads. For example, if someone hasn't been in the game in 30 days and we have a new update, we'll target them with a video showing off the new features in our update, and things like that. So we've used a lot of the different tools, especially that Oculus has and that Facebook ads have, so that we can re-engage our users and reach specifically Oculus users within Oculus mobile app ads, as they've been really, really powerful for us in terms of engagement, in terms of reaching users where they are in that moment of wanting to engage and wanting to download an app. So that's really powerful for us. We like to use that as like an evergreen campaign. And then we also will, anytime we have a sale or any sort of new marketing or an update, we'll heavy up and do kind of a burst campaign to ensure that we're getting visibility on key marketing moments.
How have you used ads to grow Forever Bowl's audience since launch?
At first, when we used ads for Forever Bowl, we were primarily just looking at new installs. After launch, we focused a lot on new installs, obviously. That's always going to be an evergreen campaign for us. But we were also looking a lot at retargeting. So for example, users who haven't been active in the game in the last, say, 3 weeks, or perhaps haven't seen news of a new update. We wanted to make sure that we can also target them and make sure that they see any new updates and see, for example, maybe a new feature that they might want to try out. So we've been using a lot of retargeting in addition to any sort of new user acquisition.
That sounds like a really successful strategy. What's your opinion on influencer campaigns for VR apps?
We've been super successful with influencer campaigns. We've created a really strong creator community. It's part of the reason that we were so successful with such a short time of creating a go-to-market campaign for our launch. We've had such success with our creators and with our influencers. We found that a good mix of finding paid influencers as well as organic creators by seeding codes, for example, is really kind of the sweet spot, because then you're ensuring that you're getting the coverage of the content that you want, but then you're also getting a wide breadth of different variety and just a diverse creator audience that's reaching new audiences that you might not have thought to reach. In fact, our most successful videos that we found from launch were not from creators that we actually had a business relationship with. They were creators that had just reached out to us and asked if they could cover the game, which I thought was really compelling. In a recent update, we actually added a lane called Brooklyn Hall, and in that hall we feature gig posters because it's a coffee shop, so it kind of fits the theme. And those gig posters actually feature some of the creators who have been creating content about Forever Bowl. So we love celebrating our creators. They've been really, really good to us.
That is a really great way to honor those influencers who helped you build your campaign out. My next question is a hypothetical. So if I'm a developer and I maybe don't have a lot of money to support my launch with marketing, I certainly can't go out and afford necessarily to pay like some big game influencer to cover me. How should I spend that money to support my launch?
I I have kind of two side-by-side answers to this, and it really just depends on your budget. I will say that working with tools like Keymailer, for example, can be really powerful. Getting your game in the hands of creators to get them creating content about your game can make a huge difference. It did for us. The flip side of that, if you're looking specifically for kind of an ads buying answer, I would say the way that we approached it is in our first month or so, we really focused our ad spend on Facebook ads because we really wanted to hone in and target people who already owned Oculus devices. So you'd think bowling game, we would go after people who love bowling, right? But in that first month, you really want to focus on getting people into that game immediately. So you want to focus on people who already have the device. So the way that we kind of planned our ad spend was to focus on users who were already owners of Oculus devices. And then as we expanded our ad spend over the course of the next couple of months, we then opened that pool of targeting from just Oculus owners to Oculus interest, and then Oculus interest with a little bit of bowling and a little bit of sports, and kind of expanded that. But really that first bulk of users that you want to target, you really want to focus on Oculus owners, especially if you don't have a huge budget, because you want to go after people who can actively make a purchase in that moment and acquire your game.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We're just about out of time. I did want to let you shout out one last thing. If you just had to yell a piece of advice to developers today about marketing, what do you want them to do?
Oh gosh, if there was any piece of advice I could possibly say to developers, it's grow your community. One of the things that has been insanely helpful for us, I mentioned this in growing our creator community and growing our relationship with creators. We did the same thing with growing our relationship with our players. We refer to our Discord community as our Forever Bowl Players Association. We listen to our players. We have channels dedicated to feedback, to ideas. We listen to them. We've created balls that they've designed. It's really powerful because they are some of our biggest marketers. For us, we have 4 players and multiplayer. So for example, if you get one player that really loves the game, they got 3 friends to bring in with them. So growing a really strong community can be really powerful.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I really appreciate you joining us here today. Everyone, thank you for joining us on the panel Building Your Business Tips, Tricks, and Hacks. Have a wonderful Connect.